From northern Alberta, the oil and gas powerhouse of Canada, I'm Crafty Carl, and this is Carl's Scale Model Showcase. So the scope of work for us up here is replacing the roofs on a couple of storage tanks. I'm going to fly the gas tester up and around the tank so she can get a reading on anything that might be leaking and could harm the guys. She's got to be under supplied air while we do this. So once she's ready, I'll get her up there and hopefully we get a good test. So the test was good. Now I got the boys up on the tank to trim off some cladding and measure the roof. They would normally have some scaffolding to work off of, but the scaffold crew's way behind and we got to move forward. The crane is safed out while they do their thing. So while that's happening, let's take a look at that progress I made on the K100 project and film before I came up here. Okay, welcome back to the channel, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. Please hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to grow the channel here, and I'm hoping by June the 1st to get my subscriber count up to 2,000, if that's possible. And now let's take a look at some of the progress that I have made on the K100 project here. So it might look like not a lot has changed, but there has been some work that has been done. So we'll take a look at the frame here. I've installed the engine permanently now, hooked up the drive shaft to the front diff, and I've got the radiator in there. I put on the radiator hoses, and I've fixed up the steering axle here to put some backing plates on there. So when I do insert the front wheels into the axle, like I said, with the front wheels here, I've made that little pin system in the back, and what I wanted to do was I wanted to be able to hide that. So I did put a backing plate on there. You can see on this side of the axle, and might not be 100% correct, but I did add some small brake pots that I found, and they are not on your typical slack adjuster with the push rod. I just made it kind of like an old school wedge style brake, which, like I said, might not be correct, but I wanted something on there anyways, and to hide the inside of that front wheel, so you don't see how the pin system is there. So I got the steering linkage in. A lot of this needs some touch up, which also with the rest of the weathering here, you can see that from this not the greatest paint that I've been using, which, like I said, once I get my airbrush going, I plan to change all that. But I've rubbed some of it off just from handling it. What's good though is that the watercolors that I have used on the fuel tank and the frame and everything, that stuff is on there really well. It's not rubbing off or anything like that. So I did add the air intake canister that holds the filter. I detailed it out with some bare metal foil. I'm going to do a little bit more weathering on there. And yeah, so basically the frame, like I said, it's coming along. I got, like I said, the engine's in there now, the radiator and stuff. So let's look at a couple other items that I've made some progress with. So here's the tandem suspension for the lead trailer, the 48-footer, and I got all that built out, and it still needs another coat of paint here, but with the good weather while I was on days off at home here, I managed to get the the frames into the suspension and the frames into primer. And then I ran out of paint, but I managed to get one coat on here, and turned out quite nice. So it's all built out. Obviously it needs its brakes and a couple other components on there. The dolly worked out really well. Excuse me. What I've done here is assembled most of it. The backing plates for the brakes still need to go on there, along with its brake system. And what I did add was I added in a location here for the airlines, just to hook up the trailer. Like, I'm not plumbing the entire air system on this kit. Everything's going to get weathered out to match, but I just needed something along the lines of a junction or a manifold, whatever you want to call it, to hook the airlines up to the lead trailer, and then hook the airlines up to the rear trailer. So I've also added this other manifold, so to speak, on this cross member, and I'll be able to plug those airlines into the pup. So actually, I think what I'm going to do is use the ones off the cross member towards the back of the lead, and then this one going in this direction, I'm going to run it up to the glad hands on the front of the pup there. So, but yeah, the suspension's been done. Most of the assembly on the converter's been done. One thing I did do is, so when you get these converters from the double header 27-foot Trailmobile pup kit, it's been released in a couple of different variations, but the latest one was a few years back now. I bought like 4 or 5 of them there. They come in the Consolidated Freightways colors, but the decals don't actually say Consolidated Freightways on them. Anyways, one thing I noticed, I did some research on some converters, and the frame on these converters stops right here. Now, I took some square tubing and I added the square tubing. I don't recall what measurement that was, but I put a rear axle in there. I'm going to just take this one over here and just slide it into the axle there for now. And the reason I did that, so there's what the trailer wheels, basically they're a little bit smaller diameter than this aftermarket drive tire that I'm using on the tractor. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the converter should have mud flaps. Now, whether they're the removable style with the hanger and the keeper pin, or they're fixed on there with a spring mounted bracket, or however, I've seen a lot of different converters over the years. But the one thing they do have is they have to have mud flaps. Now, I don't know if that's a law everywhere, but I know up here in Canada it definitely is. And when I took a bunch of did a bunch of research and looked at reference pictures on the web, most converters do have a mud flap. So I extended the back of the frame with a square tubing, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably cap these off so there's no hole in there, and then I'm just going to pull this dual out of there and put it back over there. So what I did was I was like, okay, I need a mud flap system for this, and I went through all the mud flaps that I have in my parts box and whatnot. Now, these are the mud flaps for the tractor. It's your standard KW mud flap that you get in the W925 kit and the K100 kits. It's got the accurate looking hanger there. Normally there would be a piece of square tubing on the frame. That hanger would plop in there and you put a keeper pin in through the bottom. For the tractor here, I've sanded off the KW logo because I'm going to put a decal on there, which I'm not telling anybody what that is yet. And basic flat black, and then I weathered it up a little bit. So both of them, of course. But what I thought about was like, okay, I want to put a Fruhoff mud flap on the converter. So I took these Fruhoff mud flaps, and these are from the Fruhoff 40-foot tanker kit. Now, when I built my Super Bee, I had a bunch of parts left over from kit bashing. So this mud flap is a nice size. These are the ones for the actual trailer. And you can see they have the same format of Fruhoff in there. But these are actually a lot taller, and they connect directly to the frame and suspension system. For the converter, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I don't have another set like this, and I didn't want them this long. Like I said, I looked at a bunch of reference photos, and some are shorter and some are whatever, medium size, I guess. But so I decided on this one, and I was like, okay, how am I going to attach that to the frame? So then I came up with the idea where, if we look here, this is another Kenworth mud flap. Now, this is from the Transit Mixer kit, the Challenge Mixer kit, the Kenworth. So they won't be used on the dump truck, which goes with the mixer that I built. So anyway, I ended up with an extra pair of these. And what I was sitting around thinking at the bench here and looking and stuff is, this hanger is what would be on there like the actual tractor mud flaps. So what I did was I took my razor saw and I razored off the hanger itself, which was a really great idea. Now I've got two hangers for it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the shorter Fruhoff mud flaps, and this way I have room to adjust the width or how far they're going to stick out, because I want them to be in line with the tires once the actual trailer tires are on the converter. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some more square tubing, and I'm going to attach the square tubing to the frame extensions that I put on, and then I'm actually going to hang the hanger and the mud flap right in there. So that's going to work out quite good. I'm quite pleased with that idea and the way that's coming along. As far as the other Kenworth mud flaps that I cut off to get the hangers, they're just going to go back into the parts box, and they'll get used on something else down the line. So that's my mud flap system. And when I get back home from my next hitch here, I look forward to getting some more work done on those. Now, here's one thing that's not accurate either, but instead of, taking one of the Trailmobile single axle suspensions or making something else with bigger frame rails, because those the suspension in the single axles have a little bit bigger frame rail, because I've chopped down one of the other Fruhoff trailer to make the pup there, the 27-foot pup. I'm going to be using their same frame rails, which I've cut off so you can't see the holes in there in the tandem version for when you're sliding the bogies and you want to put the pin back in there. I've cut those off, and they're basically going to sit in the frame like that. And it's not 100% accurate for what a single axle should be, but I did it anyway. So it's going to look decent on there. It's going to be all painted out orange as well. And it, won't be 100% accurate, but like I said, it's going to work for what I'm doing with it. So let's talk about some of the other stuff that's going on. So now with the engine mounted inside the frame, what I can do now is I can start mocking up the air intake pipe to go to the turbo and the exhaust system, which is going to take some doing because with the single exhaust and the different position of the exhaust stack bracket, and the air intake pipe for the air cleaner. I can get all the plumbing sorted out when I start to do some more work on that part of it. So what I did was I mocked up the two pieces here. So this side goes into the turbo. It would sit in the truck like this. Pardon me, like this. So the engine here, the turbo, and then the pipe goes across the engine, and then it goes down and it mounts inside the back of the air canister there. Not really impressed with the different diameters of piping here from this piece to the bigger piece. So I'm going to kind of blend it as best as I can. I've got, this is all obviously glued now into the right position so I can file and blend and everything, and then I'll hit everything in the silver again and try and make it look as clean as I can get it. So, but that's one part of the plumbing that's solved. The other part is, like I said, the exhaust, and I've got a whack of exhaust parts that I've started to chop up and just kind of, you know, mock up and whatnot and see if I can't get something worked out here, which I will, but that's just going to take a little bit of time. So that's on the agenda. I got a few of the other parts cleaned up over here, ready for paint, some of the taillight housings, the brackets for the license plates. Haven't installed the steering box on the frame yet, but that's coming. And then here's something else. Okay, so like I said, I didn't know what to do with the wheels that I started working with. The wheels were a match to the 2-hole buds that I have on the drive tires here. And again, these are pretty nice wheels. I bought these a long time ago from Plaskit in Montreal, Canada, there in Quebec. And I only had another set. I just bought one tandem trailer set, and it's got the correct trailer hubs and whatnot. But I didn't have another set, and because we started doing our own thing, I wanted to use our trailer wheels, or our wheels on the trailer, both trailers and the converter. So anyway, here's one of our 2-hole buds. Now I painted it out. I've got a couple of them painted. It worked out quite nice. The paint sat in there really nice. And what I like about these is that I'm going to take one of the insides, or just one of the wheels. It's going to be the inside. And then I can plug in my hub here. So we got the hub with the lug nuts and whatnot. And then I'll just take the other one, plug it in there, and now look at that. Like once I detail out those the studs and the lug nuts, and then the center a little bit and whatnot, so you'll notice that this one actually sticks out a little bit more on the front of the hub, and then here's another trailer hub. So what these ones are actually is we modeled after the hubometer, is what I always call it, but the hub that has the mileage odometer on there. And of course we can't get it that fine detailed with some numbers in there or something. Maybe down the road I can find a decal for that. But anyway, each axle is going to have a hubometer. So there's 4 axles, 2 on the tandem trailer, single on the converter, of course, and then single on the pup. So each axle is going to have a hubometer, and then each axle is going to also have the other standard kind of trailer hub. So with that being said, I'm looking forward to, we sold a bunch of these and we ran out of prints. So I'm waiting for my brother to print me some more so I can get those into paint and get those ready. I've selected the Goodyear High Miler, but not the big 11 1120, the old school 1020, which is a really nice tire in my opinion for a trailer. And the wheels that I have here fit very nicely into the Goodyears. So that's how it's going to look. I'm really happy with that. And if you go back quite a ways there, I think it was way back last spring, I think, or summer, I did an entire video of how I measured all the wheels that we sell to fit each and every factory tire. So there's a video on that if you want to check it out. If not, when you go to the website, 3D Concepts Limited, you can see that there's a drop-down menu on each wheel, and you can select your size. The tire that it fits is actually in that drop-down menu, so there's no guesswork there. All right, so that basically covers that. Oh yeah, and I got my landing gear, both sets here. Not a big fan of the roller wheels that they used way back in the day, but I'm using them anyways because I don't have any of the other flat or sand shoe, as they would call them in some of the kit instructions or part details from the manufacturer kits. But anyway, we're rolling with the wheels. So got the landing gear gearbox in there for the hand crank, and then some of the supports and whatnot. I think I think these are actually complete minus the actual landing gear handle, but obviously everything's got to get into paint, and including the single axle suspension and the converter. So with all that coming along, let's talk about some of the really cool detail items that I'm going to be using, and I'm quite pleased with this. So that's the dashboard out of the kit, and I did mine in flat black. I'm probably going to do a contrast black color in here, maybe like a satin finish, and detail out the vents for the climate control and whatnot. But I sanded all the detail off the dash where the instruments are, and then over here. And what I bought, and I think these are from Czech Model Parts, but I'd have to go back and take a look. Let me just pick it up here with my big fingers. Okay, so this is that photo-etch stuff, and I bought in a few kits for it. And I've got one for the Astro kit. I've got another one for Freightliner. I bought a bunch of them anyways. And what I really, really like is the fact that you've got the all the gauge face detail on here. And the kind of the cherry wood cover, whatever. So that's really nice. Now I'm just gonna try and hold it into position here a little bit, but oh, that's gonna look super good on there. So there's one for all the instruments that are behind the steering wheel and the column, and then there's another piece right over here, if I can get it. Oh, just hang on a second. I'm gonna grab my tweezers and grab it here. There we go. That's a little bit better. So this comes in two pieces. There's the piece for the lower part of the dash, and it's got the heater control in there and whatnot, some of the other knobs and switches, and then there's the top part, which I'll grab with my tweezers here. These are really good kits for photo etch anyway. I don't mind this photo etch because you basically just have to line it up and glue it onto the dashboard there. So this one has the rest of the gauges, or the rest of the switches and whatnot, and it should actually depict the air system buttons for the brakes. And yeah, when they get on there, they're gonna look quite well. I did a little bit of a mock-up on it once before, and like I said, it's kind of finicky to work with, but it's once it's glued into position and whatnot, it's going to look quite nice. So there's another piece here where it has for the glove box, or well, not the glove box, but the box that's beside the center instruments or switches and whatnot, and it goes kind of in there like that. So now, anyways, like I said, once that's all built out and whatnot, it's going to look super cool inside the cab. And yeah, there's my steer wheels. They're ready to go with their little round tubing on the inside, so I can glue them into position. Like I said, I'm going to have a fixed posable steering. It's not actually going to steer, but you know, it's going to have that little kind of side turn to it, which is exactly what I wanted. So another thing, and I'm going to wrap it up after I go through this part, is I came up with a really cool way of making an accurate grab handle step combo. I did a lot of research on K100s, day cabs, and I noticed that there's just the one bar that comes down, and it's got a little bit of a bend angle to it like this, and it sticks out of the cab, off the back of the cab, and it's not cut to length yet, but at the end of it, there, in a lot of cases where I saw it, it had just a round piece of plate, and it was something that would grab your boot or your foot, and so you had something to step on and go up. I think I'm going to customize mine and put like an actual little, not check plate, but a graded step, just a really small one there. And the way I built this was I took the actual grab handles from the kit, which are just straight up and down, and they have the 3 brackets here. And what I did was I took these brackets and I cut them off the grab handle itself, and then I carefully drilled the holes inside there, so you can see how that slides up and down. Now what I can do is, this one's kind of tight, but it's not, you know, it's not glued. What I want to try and do is I want to just glue them to the cab and not actually glue them to this. And this, by the way, is a piece of aluminum tubing that I picked up at the hobby store. It's available in most hobby stores. And where I've taken off the chrome plating and stuff with sandpaper, scraping it off to get it smooth. I'll make all that silver again. But what I'm going to do is just glue the brackets to the cab, and then I'll probably end up gluing that top bracket to the aluminum tube, and then the other brackets will just kind of hold everything in place. As long as they're attached to the cab, that's all I care about. And it's going to look really good. Like I said, it's not cut to length yet. I think length would be right about here somewhere. I'll find out the correct position for 3 brackets. I don't think they're exactly centered between themselves, like the top and bottom one and the middle one. I think there's a little discrepancy in there. I think this middle one's a little bit lower, kind of like the way it's looking right now. But regardless, I'm going to get all that dialed in. I'm quite happy with the way that worked out, actually. I was real leery about drilling these. But what I did was I left a little bit of the grab bar on there, and then I cleaned off the topper, so to speak, and then I started to drill the hole until I got into the grab bar, and the grab bar just, basically came off. And it was a really good way to hold the bracket, so I could hold it basically down here and then drill a hole out. So anyways, I'm really excited to get those on the truck. They're going to look just really good. And there's a nice contrast between the chrome and then the aluminum finish for the bar itself. So, and while I'm at it, I'll just mention that the cab's coming along. I did a little bit of detail on it. This is wrong. This shouldn't be full black in here. I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm going to get some orange, and I'm going to get that mostly orange in there, maybe some of the shadowing for the louvers in there, be a little bit black yet, but I'm going to fix that up. It's not a big deal. I did my Sharpie deal on the front windshield seal, and detailed out the wiper arms. Now, would they necessarily be silver or chrome or aluminum finish or whatever? Not necessarily. Maybe some were black. I don't know. What I did was I did the wiper arm itself in the silver, and then the blade for the wiper is black. And I'm gonna flatten this out because Sharpie leaves it in a little bit of a satin finish, I guess. Got a little bit of a shine to it. I don't want any shine on that. I want it to be nice and flat. But I find using the Sharpie on there is a really good way to go. It stays on there good. It's permanent, and I just prefer it now better than the brushing. So that's a trick actually I saw from Chris over at HPI Guys workshop, and as soon as I saw that trick quite a few years ago now, I was just like, hey, that's a super good idea. So I did it. Then I took my Tamiya Panaline accent color, the black, and I detailed out the area around the doors, and then the area around this front cab extension here, which has the headlight housing, and then the step. That's another thing too. And back in one of the videos, I cut this step off so I could put the interior in after these were actually on the truck, the extensions and all the paint and finish work finished out. And then you can't get the cab in when you do that. So I cut those steps off. For whatever reason, I was thinking I painted them black. That's not correct either, so I'm going to fix that. They should be the same color as the body. And then there's a little tiny grip piece of metal in here that assists you with not slipping out of that hole. So when you get your foot in there. So anyway, I did a little bit of detailing on there. I did detail out the back window surround, which is all, I did that custom, and then my rivet work and stuff like that. You can still see a little bit of the shadowing or the ghosting from some of the body work here and stuff. But once I weather it, as long as I don't break it in the process, once I weather it out, it's really gonna be a non-issue. So, but anyways, that's about all I have right now. Like, that's my update for the K100 Rocky Mountain Double project. If I had a little bit more sunshine while I was on days off, I could have got a few more things painted in regards to getting some more assembly work done. I still got to do some cleanup on some of the parts and whatnot. All the slack adjusters and stuff are done for the trailer, and got a couple of slack adjusters for the converter. Those are a little bit different because the converter comes from a different kit. And then I need one more. I'm just looking. I need one more pair of slack adjusters because I got 3 axles that run this style of slack adjuster. So there we have it. The progress, like I said, progress is coming along. I'm pretty happy with it. Looking forward to getting the plumbing all done for the exhaust and the intake, and then actually get the wheels mounted on there and the 5th wheel and stuff. I'm going to clean that 5th wheel up a little bit. I wanted to kind of make it a little bit more worn or dirty, if you will, where the slider is. I'm not sure I'm happy with that. I'm probably going to, because it's watercolor, I can take it off and thin it out or whatever, or lighten it up. So anyway, I'm going to work on some of that more weathering technique when I get back home. And yeah, there we go. So as always, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate all the comments and likes and subscriptions. And we're going to have another update on the kit collection. Now, if you guys are digging that, like, let me know. And I mean, I don't know, your opinions and comments are important to me, but I'd like to just keep going through them, put some banter in there and try and make it somewhat entertaining. All we've gotten to is the Coca-Cola Peterbilts and the Freightliners on shelf number 3 there. So we got a lot of model kits to cover here yet. And every now and then I'll just keep updating a new episode on that and throw it in there. So, but once I get back home, I look forward to getting some more paint work done and actually working on those trailers. I got a lot of work to do on those trailers yet. There's a lot of modifications that need to be corrected, or modifications that need to be done to correct the back of the trailers with some glad hands and the safety bar for the safety chains from the converter. And yeah, so anyway, she's coming along. Hoping to have her done here within the next few months would be perfect, but we'll keep plugging away at it. So in the meantime, as always, thanks again for watching my stuff, and keep on building those models.